Have you ever imagined a scene in which my heart is touched in a way that is difficult to clean up? In a story that reveals the power of unconditional love between a pet and their owner is so powerful that it is beyond any limit. Think of the image of a dog who, moved by the truth of the extraordinary, it runs kilometers back of an ambulance. Don't give up, no fear, only to have the hope of being close to people she loves. Looks like something out of a movie, but it is the reality of the people who live in the moments of pure emotion, and showing you how deep is the bond between humans and their pets. Stay with me until the very end, because that's all you're going to find out right now might surprise you and cause you to rethink everything you believe about loyalty, friendship, and courage. This story starts out with a simple morning. All of a sudden, it turns out, is in a state of emergency. An old woman, who has always been with the company for most of their game, goes wrong in an unexpected way. At that moment, time seemed to stop, and that's all she knows. All that is of the family is threatened by his own weakness. The neighbors, attentive and understand the gravity of the situation, and to act quickly by calling the emergency. Soon, an ambulance arrives with its siren on experience, bringing the hope that it will be all right. The scene is tense and full of emotions, while the old lady is brought in on a stretcher, and the response team is preparing to take her to the hospital. But the importance of the moment, that is for the observation of his faithful companion, the dog, who, agitated and distressed with each movement, it as though you understand the gravity of the situation. Have you ever gone through something like this? The feeling of being helpless, of seeing someone you love in need of help, and not being able to do anything other than wait? Certainly, this is one of the most difficult experiences to deal with. And then, as the ambulance pulls away, causing the lady to the hospital, and the dog stays there, looking at you, eyes filled with a mixture of anxiety and hope. It is at this moment that the story takes a leap of exciting because of the loyalty of an animal, and it can go a long way beyond what most of us can imagine. What happens next will touch your heart and show you that true love knows no bounds. Get ready, because this is a narrative that is still in its infancy. And then, after a silence charged forward, something that was impossible began to happen. The dog, with the eyes fixed in the direction of the ambulance, which was disappearing in the distance, he showed an inner strength that surprised everyone around him. Without a moment's hesitation, she stood up with a renewed determination, as if he knew that his mission wasn't over. In his steps, before hesitating, win rate, and she set off in the direction of the hospital with a heart that seemed to defy all logic. This sense of loyalty and hope, it resonates with you. Leave us a comment of what you touched on in the story so far. Please share your own experiences or your feelings. It's always nice to see how different stories to arouse the emotions unique to each and every one of us. Oh, and if you like this kind of content, don't forget to like the video. This will help others keep this narrative alive and to lead this message of love and fidelity to the people. Your participation is what makes this channel grow, and together we can create a community where its stories like this are gaining strength and hope. If you want to continue with this course exciting, and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, so you won't miss out any chapter of this adventure, one that promises to reveal even more of the heart of a human being is capable of feeling. And then, as the story goes, remember this: every gesture of love and every word of encouragement, strengthening our journey, connecting the heart, and the spreading of that message of love. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is where many people stumble, and without notice. The real transformation happens not only with the actions of the visible ones, the ones that everyone in the world is able to see, but also about the internal changes that often remain invisible to the eye. It is at this point that our minds begin to be put to the test, and that's where the most difficult decisions arise, often hidden in the small choices in the day-to-day. Have you ever noticed how a single decision can set off a chain of events that will change the whole way? It's like a seed that, when planted, it begins to grow silently, revealing their strength just in time. When we talk about the impact, we must not forget that it is not confined to the great deeds or achievements of the outside. The most lasting impact is one that is born of inner change, a genuine from a more in-depth understanding of who we are, in fact. And this understanding is only possible when we are faced with the truth is hidden. It is often avoided accepting that we are all responsible for our own choices, based on our fears and our limits. Many of the times, we carry out a narrative of self-pity or disability, which has been built up over the course of the year, due to the influence of circumstances, people, or even for a self-image is distorted. Recognizing this is the first step towards a real transformation, because only then can we begin to rewrite the story with courage and authenticity. This is a journey of self-discovery, however, is not straightforward. It is full of ups and downs, moments of revelation, and of resistance to it. It is in this context that in mind it becomes a very powerful tool. In a growth mindset, for example, helps us to see the obstacles as opportunities for learning rather than as insurmountable barriers. But in order for the change to actually happen, it is also necessary to understand the behind-the-scenes workings of the mind, which is often hidden under the layers of limiting beliefs that we have learned from an early age. These beliefs act as a filter that distorts our perception of reality, making it more difficult for us to see the real potential that we have within us. And here comes the revelation that you just tend to think of attention. The real strength comes from within, not from external circumstances. It's like a light that once lit, lighting up the darkest corners of our souls. When we realize this, we begin to realize that the most important decisions aren't the ones that took just the head, but especially for those who do it from the heart. Decisions, courage, and vulnerability, and a genuine desire to improve. And for this reason, it is essential that we immerse yourself in the behind the scenes of our emotions and understanding how they influence each and every step that we take in our way. After all, the emotions of well-crafted are the fuel that powers our transformation, while the emotions, impounded or poorly understood, can transform into obstacles, invisible to slow down or even stop the progress. Think about it. Everything is an invitation to think more deeply about who we are and who we want to become. Because deep down, each and every one of us possesses a unique strength. Truth hides, which, if discovered and cultivated, it has the power to impact not only our lives, but also the lives of those around us. And once you understand this dynamic, we have begun to realize that the real secret is in the consistency of the small actions that, in the course of maintaining an open-minded, and the courage to challenge yourself constantly. It is in this phase of self-discovery and made a conscious decision that we make a new reality, one that reflects more closely the potential that we have within us, and which often remain hidden out of fear, self-doubt, or simply due to a lack of attention to it. So if you think about all of this, it is clear that this transformation is an ongoing journey, a kind work of art that is becoming a way that every choice, every thought, and every action. And on this journey, it is important that we do not lose sight of the importance of the impact our actions can cause, not only in our own history, but also in the lives of those around us. Because at the end of the day, it really does make a difference. It is not what happens to us, but how we react to it with an open heart and mind, ready to learn, grow, and prosper. And in doing so, we begin to discover a true hidden that makes us free once and for all. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation begins from the inside to the outside, and a lot of times it's more subtle than you think. It's as if you're carrying a backpack that weighed limiting beliefs, fears, and old patterns, that is, unconsciously, to prevent us from moving forward. These loads are invisible to shape our daily decisions, our actions in the face of difficulties, and, most importantly, our view of ourselves. When we begin to understand that these internal barriers often have their roots in the stories that you hear, or what we believe to be true, it is clear that a change needs to take place in our way of thinking, our way of looking at the world, and especially on the way we see them. The journey of self-awareness uncovers many of the hidden truths. It is like a path of discovery, where, little by little, let's tackle what really matters to you, and the one that has been imposed by external influences from time to time. This revelation is liberating because it allows us to question all the things that we accepted without question, without realizing that many of the ideas that do not exceed the limitations that have been imposed upon them by a society that often values the success of the material, the look, or the approval of others. But at the same time, it's a process that takes courage, because to confront those very beliefs, you can generate resistance to fear, to change, self-doubt in the face of the unknown. Even so, the more you go on this journey, the more obvious it is that the transformation is not a matter of luck or external circumstances, but made a conscious decision to reprogram the mind from the rewriting of our history. And that's what a real eye-opener, to understand that the power of change is within reach, even when everything seems to be against us. This awareness opens the door to a new perspective, where every decision, no matter how small, it's an opportunity to align with our inner selves more fully. It is as if, in the clear, which is useless or toxic, we can see more clearly what you really want in our hearts, the things that make us feel alive and aligned with your purpose. And this is the clarity. It brings a quiet strength, a resilience that sustains us even in the hardest moments. Because after all, the true transformation is not just to gain something from outside, but to strengthen our connection to the inner, the one who gives you the courage to keep on going, even when everything seems to be up in the air. On the basis of this understanding, we can begin to understand that the decisions we make are not driven by a fear of failure or the need to please others, but out of a genuine desire to improve. This is a change of mindset that causes us to question what is really important in the release of unrealistic expectations, and will help us to create a new narrative, a story of which we are, the protagonists, are aware of this. In this process, you will also come to know that the impact that we make on the world around us is a direct result of what we grow in-house. The more we grow in love, gratitude, and authenticity, and these values are reflected in our actions and in our relationships. And so, we come to realize that the real transformation is to go on a journey of self-discovery, continuous, and that it involves the courage to face up to what is most profound in all of us. And as the day progresses, with new revelations emerge in a natural way, like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle, you'll be falling in place for all but a few. Every step you take, every decision consciously, brings us closer to a more authentic, free from limitations. It is impossible to deny that, when you immerse yourself in the soul-searching, we have found the truths that many of the times they were hidden behind layers of fear, doubt, or social conventions. We hold these truths, when brought to the surface, which act as a catalyst for powerful change, is a force that drives you to move forward with more confidence, knowing that we will be able to transform the matter of a new mindset. And in it, we learn that the real freedom is the ability to choose how we think, feel, and we believe in building a long-lasting impact on our journey of personal evolution. He writes in, "I'm on this journey too. I now want to go more in depth on this topic because they understand these truths that are hidden from this is how to find the key that unlocks the door, which before would have seemed impossible to cross. Many times, the greatest limitation is not out there, in the circumstances before us, but within us, in the way that we interpret the world, and in our minds, and in the decisions we make on a daily basis. The real transformation begins right there, in a change to the interior, on the understanding that we are the architects of our own destiny, even if at times it may sound like a concept far away or even unrealistic. The truth is hidden. What many miss is that, in this construction, starts with small daily choices that seem to be insignificant, but which, over time, helps to shape who we are and the impact you left on this world. It's like a seed that, when planted, they need care, attention, and patience to become a tree, strong and able to give fruit and shade. Each of the decision to believe in yourself and cultivate a growth mindset to avoid the complaint of the negativity or fear, it's like watering the seed. And along the way, we are faced with the repercussions of those choices, which are often ignored or discredited as we believe that the success and the changes depend on external factors or chance. The big revelation is that very few want to admit is that our own mind is a very powerful tool that can create or destroy opportunities. And on the back of every thought, restraint, there is an opportunity to rethink, reshape that narrative, and to replace the fear or the doubt and hope and courage. This transformation is about having the courage, yes, but also a deep awareness of it. To take control of our internal decision-making, we are, in fact, shaping the future of our world. This is a journey of self-discovery, where you have the greatest impact comes from changes in the external, but that's the way we've decided to look to ourselves and to the world. And when you understand it, you start to realize that the truth is hidden. It is not a matter of chance or fate, but it's a matter of choice. Every day is a new opportunity to rewrite our story, to break down limiting beliefs, and build a mindset that is on the rise, which is connected with the true power that we have inside of us. It is a journey of transformation which, once understood, has revealed in a freedom we'd never expect, to be able to be a people that are born with the power to decide who you want to be, from one of our own truth inside. He comments that It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation happens at the very time when we can begin to understand that our everyday decisions shape not only our present but also our future in a way that a lot of times we don't even notice. It is as if, for each choice, you're a piece of hidden away. To be placed correctly, it is a puzzle to most, a journey of self-discovery and evolution. Many of the people who live in the stems, bearing deep-seated beliefs, which, in the majority of the times, nor to question it. These beliefs act like filters to the invisible limit to what you believe is possible, and it goes to a revelation of the powerful, the freedom to move them up, deconstructing them, and to create new narratives that are aligned with who you really are or want to become one. When we begin to understand that the impact of small decisions, and understand that they have a knock-on effect on our lives, a choice, an attitude, a thought, a different, an action that seemed to be insignificant, it can be a trigger for radical transformation. It is at this point that we begin to realize that the control is not in external circumstances, but how we respond to them. And it's this change of mindset. It seems simple in theory, but it is one of the most challenging and liberating that you can try out. Because when you take the responsibility for our own choices, we become victims of fate or circumstance, and we are the protagonists of our story. It is fascinating to realize that this is a journey of self-discovery will also reveal the hidden truth behind our deepest emotions. Many times, you can load any fears, worries, or concerns that seem to be so present that it is an integral part of our identity. But in fact, all of these feelings are just a sign that there is something to be explored, understood, and especially transformed. When you look into the courage, we have discovered that the core is much stronger and more resilient than we might have previously thought. And it's a real boost so that we can move forward with more clarity and purpose, which is breaking down the boundaries that you have created or that have been imposed on the course of life. From this understanding, we can begin to see a behind the scenes of our mind, the mechanisms that lead to the repeat of the standards, if we are to believe the stories that don't serve us anymore. It is as if, to unravel these layers, built in, open the door to a new perspective on life. And this view is based on the fact that we choose to accept it and the courage to reinvent ourselves each and every step. In the process, they also learn to take into account the impact our actions have on those around us. Because of the transformation that we seek is not just for the individual, it reverberates throughout the entire network of relationships. This is a journey of transformation that is, in fact, is a continuous reconstruction of our way of thinking, and it calls for courage, patience, and a genuine desire to improve. Each of the discovery of the inner, every decision you make with a conscience, this is a piece that fits in the construction of a new version of ourselves. And it is precisely this movement of self-transformation that we find true freedom, one that comes from within. It allows us to decide who we want to be, no matter what the external circumstances they can come up with. This is a wake-up call that showed us that, as much as the world changes around us, the biggest change comes in the way we think, feel, and act. Now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is when we begin to understand the relationship that exists between our choices, our beliefs, and our inner truth. It all starts to make sense in a way that seemed to be impossible. It is as though, all of a sudden, life became a great opportunity to experience authenticity and to free ourselves from the shackles of the past and to create a present that is aligned with what really matters to you. This understanding gives us the courage to stand up to the challenge, because we all know that at the bottom, the greater the force that is in all of us. And when you understand it, everything changes. Our dreams, our actions, and our view of the world. Each and every step is taken with such a mindset. It's a seed of an impact, which over time, it blooms into a reality in the fullest, truest, and most closely aligned with our deeper purpose. And if you think about it, it should be clear that this is a journey of self-discovery that is never straightforward. It involves many ups and downs, moments of doubt, and of course, but most of all, it requires a genuine desire to move forward, to question all the truths that are imposed, and to create new opportunities. Because at the end of the day, the greatest change happens when we learn to listen to our inner voice, trust in your own truth, and to act with the courage to build a life that truly reflects who you are, in fact. And in the process, we discover discover that freedom is not something that comes out of it, but it's something that is born inside of a decision every day to be true to ourselves, no matter what the world says or copper. I know that this thought may seem too deep, but it is a starting point for a change, one that does not depend on outside circumstances, but the result of a decision by the interior. And when you understand it, you realize that the power to change our reality, that is more than ever before in our hands. Because in essence, everything that you need to rewrite our history, it is within us, just waiting for the one moment of courage to speak out. And in the meantime, the journey continues and is always revealing a new layer of potential, new hidden truths, and the infinite possibilities of development. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation begins when we understand that the power to create a new reality that is not something that is foreign to you, something that comes out of it, or that it depends on the specific circumstances. In fact, it's always been inside of each and every one of us, hidden under the layers of fear, doubt, and the conditions that have built up over a lifetime. These layers often act as a kind of filter that distorts our perception, that is preventing us to see the power that we do have. And it is precisely at this point that the journey of self-discovery, it becomes a sort of a gateway to an internal revolution, a revolution which, when properly conducted, has the potential to impact every decision, every action, every choice we make on a day-to-day. When you realize that to live with authenticity and the courage to be who you really are, and it's the first step to unlock the power that is hidden, we can begin to understand that a lot of the limitations that we believe we possess are in fact mentally constructed. The narrative that we have learned over the years that it can be deconstructed and a new mindset. This is not just a desire to change the surface or of the methods are fast, but it is a process of transformation. It is about having the courage to face our own truths and to question everything we have been taught as the only possible reality. In this sense, it's almost as if a journey of a clearing, where every time a new discovery about yourself, it reveals a new layer of potential, which up until then, he was asleep. And here comes a revelation of what's essential, the impact of the change in the internal echo in every area of our lives. When we change our way of thinking and our decision-making, they begin to reflect a new understanding of who we are and what we really want. From this point on, what had seemed impossible, and now it is a matter of choice. The power of the will, many times, it is replaced by a more in-depth understanding of it all, starts in our mind, in our view. It's like if you had access to the kind of the behind-the-scenes of our own existence, where we could rewrite the script, delete the stories that limit us, and to create new narratives and more in line with our own dreams and beliefs. It is true the key to your freedom of mind. Therefore, the awareness that we are the authors of our own story, we realize that we may, at any time, and choose a new path, a new approach. And that, as simple as it may sound, it has a huge impact on our way of development. Each made a conscious decision. Each and every step is taken with the intention of it is a manifestation of this new way of understanding what we are growing. And at the same time, it connects us to the truth it hides. Many still do not know that our transformation is, in essence, is not dependent on external circumstances, but in alignment with the inner you. We can make it happen at any time. Now, I want you to go even deeper on this topic because of all of this. What we're talking about, it seems nice in theory, but in practice, the majority of people, even if you feel stuck in old patterns, almost as if he were in a sort of vicious cycle that seems to have no way out. And this is where it comes to the question of the actual impact of that journey. It calls for the courage to face your own limits, to challenge our own beliefs, deeply rooted, and, too often, to break away from what's comfortable, even if it means to go through moments of discomfort, doubt, and uncertainty. After all, it is the change too many times. It requires a conscious effort. A decision every day to strengthen your mindset is what we are building. Even when everything around you seems to conspire against you, it is at this point that our inner power and strength that shows your true essence. And that's where our desire to evolve and becomes a force for transformation, which influences not only our lives, but also the impact that we leave on the world around us. With this deeper understanding, leads us to reflect on the behind the scenes of this journey, about what's really behind our actions and our moods. We have found that too often, we carry out a kind of baggage in the invisible, which is formed by the limiting beliefs that have been imposed upon, and that, if they are not challenged, they continue to shape our decision-making without a notice. And in that moment moment of awareness, it becomes a powerful tool of release. When we are able to see those hidden truths, we can begin to understand that the biggest barrier is not outside, but within us, in our own minds. And at the same time, this understanding gives us immense freedom to try new ways, new opportunities for growth, a new version of ourselves. At the same time, on this journey of transformation is non-linear. It is full of ups and downs, moments of clarity, and for the periods in question, in depth. It is in this movement that we've learned to trust in our ability to meet challenges, adapt to change, and above all, to keep hope alive even in the most difficult moments. Because deep down, each and every step in this direction, it is a proof that we are willing to give up the old stories and to embrace a new narrative, a story that truly reflects who we are and who we can become. And it's this evolution that it reveals to us the true possibilities of the impact, not only in our personal lives, but also to the story that we want to build it with the world. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation doesn't just happen on the surface of our actions, but in how our decisions will reverberate in our soul, in our way of thinking. It is in this space that is quiet, often invisible, to the point where you start to shape up. When we decided to leave all the old stories, the ones that limit us, and we will lock them in a cycle of self-doubt and fears, we are, in fact, opening the door to a new narrative, one that's more aligned with who we truly are and want it to be. This change in perspective is about having the courage, yes, but it's also a realization that every choice we make is a seed sown in the soil of our evolution. Many of the times, and the truth, which is hidden by the back of our own limitations, that is the way we interpret the world around us. The impact of decision-making, as small as it may seem to you, it can be a real revolution in the built-in, a sort of unlock, which allows us to see possibilities where before you could only see the obstacles. It's as if, when we put down the weight of the past to get a better understanding of the present, and consequently, in the future. This is clearly, it is vital that we truly understand, as we are in charge of our own stories. Nothing happens by chance, and it is this consciousness that we are the authors of our day is the first step in the transformation of the authentic. It's all in the mind. When we learn how to adjust the focus in the U.S. is limited in powers, began to look beyond our own borders. It is a process of reprogramming, mental, and where each of constructive thinking, decision-making, aligned, and serves as a key component in the construction of a new version of ourselves. And this is, in many cases, a stronger, more resilient, more able to cope with the ups and downs that life brings. It is not a change that happens in the day to night, but it's a journey of self-discovery and the small, everyday actions that, taken together, create a powerful transformation. When you look at the behind the scenes of this development, we have realized that it is not just a matter of willingness, but a deep understanding about who you really are and what impact we want to make it in the world. It's a kind of awakening to the true, hidden, that it is our choices that shape not only our history, but it also had an impact on the universe around us. Each made a conscious decision is a clear statement of who we want to be, and with that statement, you have the power to impact lives and to inspire others to also embrace their own journeys of change. Thus, the transformation is no longer something foreign and turns out to be a genuine expression of our soul, an expression of our originality. And when we think about the dynamics, it is clear that the greatest impact we can have is the one that comes from the inside out. When we align our actions, thoughts, and emotions, we have created an invisible force that radiates to everyone around you. It is the essence of a true transformation, one that goes beyond the results of the surface and touch the soul, awakening to a new sense of possibilities. It is at this point that we realize that every step you take, every decision, every change in mindset, it is a very important part in the construction of a new narrative, a story that truly reflects who we are and who we are becoming. That is why it is so important to be on the lookout for our own choices, our emotions, and our beliefs. These are the main tools in our transformation. When we are able to see beyond the surface, we discover that the truth is hidden. Oftentimes, it is in the simplicity of the present moment and the courage to take control of their own destiny. This awareness gives us the power, the freedom, and mainly in the hope that we can build a story, a truly stunning one of history that will inspire and motivate others to transform. And as long as this journey continues, then the connection to this formula strengthens, leaving a lasting impression on the course of whom we choose to be. He comments that, "I'm on this journey too." I now want to go more in-depth on this topic, because they understand that in connection with our inner selves is what really makes all the difference in the transformation that we seek. Many times, when we are so stuck in our routines, to the questions and the limitations that we have forgotten what the real difference is born out of an understanding of who we are, in fact, in addition to the masks, which we use to interact with the outside world. It is at this point that we begin to realize that our choices are not random, but are a reflection of an inner view of that often remains hidden behind a layer of fear, self-doubt, or social conventions. When we were able to open up the space for the story, your narrative is gaining a new meaning in it, and that it seemed to be far away or out of reach now become a part of a journey in the concrete that pulses with authenticity and purpose. From that point on, it becomes clear that the transformation does not change the surface, or a simple exchanges of experiences. It is a real revolution in the internal application of the belief that sometimes we merely see the possibilities within a narrow field. When we found out about the truth hidden behind our actions is the one that shows the real impact of our decisions on our fate and our own relationship to the world, it all gets a whole new dimension. Every decision is a chance to reaffirm who we are and what we are capable of. It's as if, when you unwrap the layers and the deeper, we begin to create a story more in line with our values, our passions, and for the impact that you want to leave on the lives of the people around you. This search for authenticity, it also leads us to a reflection on the power of mindset, one that is often overlooked in our history of growth. An open-minded and conscious acts sort of like a compass, guiding our actions are more intentional. When we allow ourselves to question our own beliefs, we've stepped out of it with the old standard, which is often in the trap of a cycle of stagnation. It is in this movement of self-awareness and the courage to face up to the fact that we begin to shape a more meaningful, in which, in addition to the on-the-turn, influence and inspire others to do the same. However, this is a journey of transformation. It also reveals a behind the scenes of who we really are. It's in those quiet moments of reflection, sincere, from the revelations of the most impressive. We have found that our strengths are hidden. To our deepest fears, our passions, they often remain dormant for many years. This self-awareness is that it gives us the freedom to choose, to decide on the way to a more conscious, to which paths to follow, knowing that with each step, this is an opportunity to build a story that actually makes sense. And in doing so, we realize that we are not alone in this journey. Each and every one of us carries within him a great potential, a power that can turn even the most scenic and challenging stories of triumph and hope. Now, I want you to go even deeper on this topic, because they understand the truth hidden. It is also to unravel the roots of many of our own limitations. Too often we carry old wounds, beliefs, inherited, or the expectations that have been imposed upon them, and that would end up shaping our view of the world and the choices we make in an unconscious manner. When I asked these roots, we opened up the space for a true peace, which allows us to rewrite our history from the inside to the outside. It is in the process of liberation that we find the impact of a change in the mindset of not only our lives, but also for those that are around us. After all, the true transformation is that the echo and that he has been, and it provides a chain of change by creating a network of opportunities that before would have seemed impossible. And then, as the day progresses, it is natural to have questions, fears, or even in times of crisis. But at this point, we realize that these things are just part of the scenery, the components that can reinforce the strength and resiliency for each challenge, each of the doubt to overcome, and it is a very important part in the construction of a narrative that is more authentic, more in tune with all our dreams and our lives. At the end of the day, the key is to keep it alive and the desire to evolve, to learn, to transform itself without being afraid of making mistakes or start over as many times as you need. Because of that, we're writing a story that is worth telling, a story that leaves you with a genuine mark on the history of those who decide to take control of their own destiny and embrace her true essence. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation doesn't happen all of a sudden. It is built day by day, decision by decision. Many of the times, the people is tricked into thinking that it is just a radical change, an attitude, a dramatic one, that all may be change from time to time. But the truth is hidden. The one that only a few have the courage to admit it. That's the real growth is in small steps, and the persistence of quiet for those of you who understand that success is not a straight line, but it's a journey of ups and downs, advances and setbacks that ultimately shape who we are in truth. A moment of strength, of doubt, of failure. There is just more to teach, because it is in them that we are learning to deal with our own vulnerability, to understand that a mistake is not the end, but it's an opportunity to begin again more wisely. And it is precisely this idea of the growth which distinguishes between those who truly want to evolve and if you're willing to face truths and the most difficult of itself. Because you are, in essence, the transformation is about having the courage to face what's hiding in the shadows, accepting your own imperfections, and is still the go-ahead. It is not a matter of accuracy, but for authenticity, and to assume that we are in an eternal work in progress. When you understand it, everything changes. The decisions that we take in are no longer the impulses of the moment and will reflect a conscious desire to evolve. Each and every choice, it becomes a very important part in the construction of a new version of yourself. You will have a stronger, more aligned with our true nature. We begin to realize that each and every obstacle, instead of being a barrier, it is an opportunity in disguise, a chance to learn something new about who we are, in fact. And so it goes. Another important layer that a lot of people fail to pass the impact of the stories inside. In these narratives that we carry from childhood, often without realizing it, molded our own way of looking at the world and therefore our decision-making. A mind that has been trained to question, for instance, will find it difficult to trust in their own potential. The one that was used to feeling helpless, you can't help to new opportunities and growth. For this reason, the transformation will also involve a review of these stories and a deconstruction of the limiting beliefs that seem so obvious, but they are, in fact, the only human constructions that can be deconstructed at any time. When you begin to question those truths that are hidden, we opened up the space for a new narrative, one that enhances our ability and the potential that it moves us to act with courage and authenticity. And it is at this point in the journey gains a new dimension, because the change is no longer just an external search results, and it happens to be an inner transformation, a revolution in the way we relate to ourselves and to the world. Each and every step of this journey, it is a revelation, a discovery, which, in essence, everything that you need is already inside of us, just waiting to be awakened. It is like a seed, even in the silence and in the dark, now carries with it the potential to bloom, to create a beautiful, unique, and true. And when you realize this, we realize that our everyday decisions are what really shape the way in this transformation, and that even in the most difficult moments, there is always a chance to rewrite our story, to take a new direction. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the essence of this journey, which is currently in its ability to keep you alive, and a desire to learn, to reinvent themselves, even when everything seems to come crashing down. This is where the true power is revealed, the decision to continue, to persevere, to believe that in the next step, however small it may be, it is a very important part in the construction of the trajectory of the impact and the meaning of it. In this way, the revelations of the most valuable take place on the sidelines of the mind, in those moments of quiet in which to come to terms with our own personal truths and what is often hidden under layers of fear and insecurity. When we look for in honesty, we realize that your worst enemy is often ourselves, and the freedom to move is the courage to face those internal barriers. That's the true transformation, is a continuous process of self-discovery, courage, and made a conscious decision to follow you beyond the limits many times we have created for ourselves. And so, in a step-by-step, we construct a story that not only reveals who you are, in fact, but that it will also inspire others to do the same, thus creating a change that starts on the inside and spread around the world. And it is precisely this movement of self-discovery we find the strength to carry on, even in the face of obstacles. With each step, as small as it may seem to you, it's a victory in that it confirms that we are on the right track. And then, at the end of it all, it is the sense of what it was worth every moment's thought, every decision, courage, and passion. This trip is unique, and the most important thing is that it continues going up every day, with new opportunities to learn and grow. If you've come this far, it's because I really identify with this message, and that is a huge accomplishment. Enjoy and leave a comment saying, "I'm with you till the end," or "It was me," so that we can build a stronger connection, exchanging experiences, and to inspire those who are also seeking to transform their own story. And of course, if that kind of content it makes sense to you, don't forget to leave a like. It is a way of acknowledging just how much in this subject you can really make a difference in your life and the life of anyone who watches it with you. If you like what you've seen so far, I want to invite you to keep up with me. There's a video right here on the side which complements this subject, light and practical, and then you click and keeps me there as well. Thus, we maintain that the exchange of ideas and strengthening the journey of self-discovery that in essence is a building on a daily basis. Thank you for being here until the end, and I hope to see you in the next content. And with this, the power of growth and discovery. See you there.